So you're voluntarily telling that in the future, if an event happens, then I am telling you what decision to make in that event for me.
Yes. Hi, welcome to the channel, The Mutual Fund Guys. I'm Mahesh Bhagwat, and with me is Samir Gilani, and we are partners at AMS Investments, which is an AMFI registered mutual fund distributor based out of India and Dubai. So we will now continue with what we have been discussing for the last several days. And to give a recap, we talked about why holding for the long term is the best way to create life-altering wealth. And we talked about it in a couple of ways, right? Today, what we want to do is talk about a couple of solutions to that bias.
Problem.
Right?
Yes.
And as usual, I would like to start with a small story, and which highlights the solution, right? So this story involves the story of Troy. We have all heard of the story, read the abridged version maybe. If we have not read, then we have probably seen the movie Troy, right? And
that movie, I think, the way they build their physiques for the movie, the way they fought in that movie, it was just a great movie. I mean, I now that you spoke about it, I feel like watching it again today.
Yeah. Actually, people should. So one of the characters that we want to talk about today is Ulysses or Odyssey. And the character, actually, in the movie Troy, that character is played by the same actor who played Ned Stark in Game of Thrones. So if you've seen Game of Thrones, you have seen this guy. So Odyssey is actually supposed to be a smart and intelligent warrior, right? So he's, in fact, the one who gave the idea of the Trojan horse, which actually finally defeated Troy, right? When they take it into their castle, or their fort, that is when they actually get defeated. Till that time, that war apparently waged for 20 years. I mean, it's a long war. The movie doesn't really show the decades going by, but it is actually a very long war. And at the end of the war, when this whole thing is, Troy is defeated and the war ends, and then Odyssey now wants to go back to his homeland. The longer route would be, or the safer route and the longer route would be the land route. But he now decides to go faster by the sea. Okay. And so people warn him about the dangers of the sea. And one of the dangers apparently is the danger of sirens, who are supposed to be mythical creatures sitting in an island, but they sing such beautiful songs, or their voice is so melodious that sailors who pass through the island or pass by the island get tempted to visit it and then get smashed into the sharp rocks that surround the island and get killed, right? So, and now Odyssey has been told, or Ulysses, the same name. I mean, Odyssey and Ulysses are the same name. He has been told about this problem, right? And then what he does is that he knows he will be tempted, and he wants to be tempted too. He wants to hear that beautiful song of the sirens, but he still doesn't want to die on the rocks, right? So what he does is that he fills all his other sailors' ears with beeswax so that they can't hear the songs. And he tells them to tie him to the mast. Right? So that even if he gets tempted, he can't do. He's bound to the mast. By the ship. And he warns them that despite all his pleas and entreaties, they should ignore him and continue along the path and not, get swayed. And by his entreaties, right? They can't hear the songs. Their ears are filled with beeswax. But Odyssey can hear the songs, but he's tied to the mast. Then the ship goes close to the islands. Odyssey can hear those songs. He gets driven mad by desire and temptation. He wants to go to the island, right? Because the song is that beautiful. And yet he can't, because he's tied. And the sailors can't hear, so they don't get tempted. And they pass safely past the island. And then once the danger is over, they untie Odyssey and he can, go on. His adventures continues until he reaches his homeland. But in this small story, this small part of the entire long journey of Odyssey back home is a way for us as human beings, as investors, to actually, be invested for the long term and not get tempted. So
swayed by temptation,
So the Ulysses, in fact, Ulysses story is actually converted into a legal term called the Ulysses pact. It's like when one voluntarily ties up oneself in the future, right? So
Yes.
a living will, for example, is a form of Ulysses pact. You actually, with a living will, what you do, probably one of the things could be like, do not resuscitate, right? So
When
you
I
have
and
actually,
that basically means that if I'm on life support
yeah,
in case of event, then do not keep me on that life support for more than a few days or whatever it is. So you're voluntarily telling that in the future, if an event happens, then I am telling you what decision to make in that event for me.
yes. I have myself made the decision. At that time, I don't want to be making any decision, right? In the future, I want to make the decision now when I'm in my senses, and I want to make that decision now. So that's Ulysses pact to say can be done for various things like this. Now, how does it help investor for the long term, right?
Yeah.
This kind of, so we don't really have a Ulysses pact for the investor, but what we have is a weak form. Let's call it a weak form of the Ulysses pact, right? Like a SIP, right? When you say I'm doing an SIP, what are you doing? You're saying I will invest. Voluntarily, you take a decision that a part of your income will go into mutual funds on a monthly basis, isn't it? That's what you're saying. So that's voluntarily deciding what to do with your money long into the future. So you have taken a decision like that. It's a form of Ulysses pact that you're doing. Second, for example, I tell all my investors, right, that you will be tempted. You will be tempted to sell. You will be tempted with all the noises, the song of sirens, so to speak. You will be tempted with all the noises where you will hear things like, maybe I should sell now. For example, in this near term, people have been saying that maybe the markets have gone up too high, so maybe I should sell and take money off the table. You will be tempted with situations like the world is getting over. During COVID, you will hear things like कि अब तो सब खत्म हो गया है, अब तो सब बेच के निकाल डालो, अभी अगर नहीं निकले तो कभी नहीं निकलोगे, type of stories, and you will be tempted with all those kind of stories. So I keep telling them that, look, give me the authority to ask you a few questions when you say, I want to redeem money. And one of the questions you need to ask, allow me to ask, is, do you need the money for any particular thing? Or are you doing it because you want to time the market, right? So that is a very key question, which I always ask people. Is it something that you do because you need the money? Then, of course, it's your money. You need to take it out. We can't ask as to why why do you need the money, right? It is his money and he wants to take it out, or her money and she wants to take it out for some particular purpose. Then yes, please go ahead and do it. But if it is because you're hearing somebody say that market or girega, or you're thinking that market has stopped up, etc., then give me the authority to remind you that you had told me that I should, to stop you from getting tempted.
Yes.
Right. So we do this job as a mutual fund distributor. What is our job? Our job is to, one, suggest hopefully the kind of schemes that match the
available for
investors' requirements and personality. And the second job is to try and steer him into the right path and keep him on that path, right? Handhold the investor to remain invested and to remain on that path that we have decided already when we took the decision to invest. So this is something like an Ulysses pact. If an investor and we and the investor have that kind of understanding that we are going to guide him, we act like the sailors, right? To stop Odyssey from getting tempted by the song of sirens. So we act like the sailors who will try and tie up Odyssey to the mast. If this is what we can do as mutual fund distributors, then I think the investor can remain invested for the long run. There is nothing else that you can do. I can't stop somebody from withdrawing the money, but I can at least talk to him.
Just to summarize, I think the Ulysses Pact obviously has historical context, that you are saying, I am signing up for something in the future at the current time because of that I currently possess these senses, and I'm making a pact for the future, just like a will, that we have a will for our property and stocks and stuff. But in today's context and in terms of investing, we know for a fact that long-term investing is the right path. Okay. And one of the ways to commit yourself to a Ulysses pact or to a will, if you will, is to make sure that you are invested for a long period of time and a distributor like ourselves are your sort of, gatekeepers of that promise or secret that, look, we will make sure that you are on that path till, unless you need the money, but you're on that path and you don't get swayed by short-term temptations to either sell the stock or, sorry, to sell your mutual funds because you want to time the market or there's an election event or a budget. And we have seen time and again that these decisions of selling, buying actually add very little value to your long-term journey of creating wealth.
Correct. And so actually that's the only way an investor can remain invested. Correct. Live through the short-term ups and downs, live through the short-term song of sirens of temptation, and live through the short-term fears of destruction, and still stay invested into the path or stay on that path. And that's the only way. And our job remains as a distributor to keep helping the investor to remain steadfast on that path.
I saw a video on YouTube recently about an investor who had invested in mutual funds in, I think, 1996 or 97. I'm not sure the exact date. Yeah. And he was one of those very, 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 very few people who remained invested till date. And obviously, he has made an incredible amount of money in the stock markets. And his amounts are so nominal, so small when he started off his journey in 96. And then, of course, he kept building on to that. Today, obviously, he's retired at a very early age. He retired at 44, I believe. Old. And he mentioned that he was one of the few people who made a pact that I'm going to be in this journey, for the longest period of time that I can imagine. And he also said that a lot of people would have been in the same situation as he is, but 99% of investors who invested in 96 in that fund are not today the same investors that the mutual fund has. In fact, one of the most well-known fund managers in our country, S. Narain, who is the CIO of Prudential ICICI Mutual Fund, he said that the mutual fund industry over the last 20 years have given 100, 200, 300 times return of money back to investors. But a very few investors were able to capitalize on this opportunity. And we are trying to reiterate this point over and over again. And again, this whole video about Ulysses pact is that you need to make a pact with yourself that no matter what happens, unless there's an emergency, you will make a pact with yourself that I will dedicate a small amount of money into investments every month and let it be there for 20, 30, 40, for how many years you think is good for you, right? This is the key. I think this is the most important part. And the sooner people realize this, the easier life will be for them in the future.
I think that's what we wanted to say with this video. We'll be coming out with more. So what I would request all of you to do is to either write to us at hello@amsinvestments.net. If you have any questions, you could also put your suggestions on the comments below. You could also write to us on the WhatsApp number that we'll give in the description. Please do subscribe to this channel, refer us to your friends, and all the things that you could possibly do to make this channel reach more people. Thank you so much.
And if you're looking for a mutual fund distributor, we are a mutual fund distributors. You can definitely take our guidance on that. But yeah, thank you for watching, and we will be back with more videos. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.